Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Working for You, the weekly radio show where the people of St. Kitts and Nevis can dialogue, interact with their government. The Team Unity government is for and by the people. I am Lesroy Williams, your host. Today, we are going to be honored to have on the show Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, who has just joined us after being engaged with a meeting with the Police High Command. Dr. Harris, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And we welcome you to this show. It's the first time you're on the show for the year. What would you like to say to our listeners, to the Federation, as it's the first time that you're being on the program for the year?
Well, I should start by extending best wishes to all our citizens and residents, and to extend the hope that the year 2016 will be a remarkable one for the wonderful things that will happen in St. Kitts and Nevis, and to ask the national community, of course, to continue to have faith, confidence in themselves, in their God, and in the ability of the country to perform at such a level that their lives would be improved. I want at this time, and you rightly said that I was delayed in part, and so I thank the listening audience for their patience. I was delayed on account of a meeting of the High Command of the security forces, and in particular the police force and the defense force. Those are the two principal agencies involved in the law enforcement. And we are aware that this year we have had an upsurge in gun-related activities, and this has led to the tragic loss of lives. We mourn the loss of every life in the country, particularly those taken in the manner in which those homicides have been affecting the lives of so many of our young people who should be the productive elements of the society, and yet in the middle of their flowering, their families, their friends, their communities are left without them. And so on behalf of the Cabinet, on behalf of all the peace-loving people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I extend condolences to all those families who have left to mourn the loss of their relatives as a result of criminal activities. I want on that note to say that the government remains confident that it can and it will, in time, restore the peace and safety to St. Kitts and Nevis. The meeting which detained me was about that. How in the face of the increase in criminal-related incidents, and in particular those of a violent nature, would the law enforcement agencies respond? And I am satisfied based on the responses that we had today from the High Command and their support team and the advisory group, that it is still within the power and the ability and capacity of our law enforcement to respond and to bring a diminution in the upsurge in violent activities. Of course, given the nature of the climate, I am not at liberty to disclose the specific initiatives that would unfold. But as they are unfolding, I am sure the citizens and residents will breathe a sigh of relief. I want to make it clear that the government accepts that it has a major role to play to ensure the safety and the security of all within our jurisdictions. And our commitment is that we shall not leave any stone unturned in our efforts to ensure that the requisite level of safety and security obtains in the beautiful Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. The crime situation has been a perennial problem for St. Kitts and Nevis. And we go back to the late 90s, or the period of the 90s, in which we will be having homicides below double digits. And then in the period 2000 thereafter, the homicides began to hit double digits, and then consistently thereafter, the homicide rate in the country reached an abnormally high level. In 2011, that was a peak period in which 34 homicides were recorded in the country. The homicide rate is still too high, and abnormally so. And so we have to look deep and far and near also to determine what is the cause of that animosity, man to man, that is creating and is exhibiting itself in the utmost disrespect for life. This then is a societal challenge, and it goes beyond the police, although they are instrumental in the efforts to secure the safety and the security of the country. The situation demands that each one of us, as a citizen and a resident, take stock of our own actions and see what we have been doing or have not been doing that could have, as it were, contribute to this spiraling. It requires us, who are parents, who are head of household, for example, to look at our home environment. Are there values that are being inculcated in the home setting that lead ultimately to this disrespect, this violent action that we are seeing? How does a parent who, for example, sees her son or daughter who comes home loaded with goods, loaded with ill-gotten gain, how does that particular family respond to that situation? How does the citizen on the street who sees someone falling prey to the violent onslaught of criminals, how should that person react? Should that person be quiet, or that person has an obligation to the societal peace, the safety of their community, to share that information with the public? And we could go on, because, as I said, while there is a collective responsibility, individually each of us has to do more to bring the situation under control. What does the church do in the circumstances in which we are finding ourselves? Are there specific outreach initiatives that the church can undertake? Is there a need for us to ensure that our Sunday schools are again full of people, young people wanting to learn and their parents wanting them to be appropriately anchored so that our value system is being enhanced. So it is a challenging time. It is a challenging time, and the law enforcement persons who are charged with the duty to serve and to protect the country, they also have to be more conscious of the changing times. And they also have, at this particular moment in the country's development, appreciate that more is required of them, that they have to serve better, that they have to be prepared to go beyond the call of duty, and that they should not be shortchanging in the delivery of law and order. And so we could speak to target groups. Our education system, is it helping? Is it allowing too many persons to fall through the crack? And therefore, what would be our response be to a new model of an education system that should be more inclusive, allow less attrition as you graduate to the levels of the school system, and a system that caters to the varying skills and talents of our young people. So at this particular juncture, the short point is that the society as a whole has to begin to reflect, and the individual members of the society, each one of us, can do something to mitigate the circumstances which we now find ourselves. The government, for its part, will not shirk, and this has been made repeatedly clear to the police. They must have a strategy, they must have a plan, and the government's job in part will be to provide the resources to ensure that these plans, well put together as they may be, that these plans are backed by resources, because the results would only come through the implementation. And so we had that conversation with the law enforcement. As I said, I left that meeting confident and assured that the leadership is willing to go to the next level with this particular issue of the safety and the security of the country.
Now, Prime Minister, while you have spoken so much about the social ills that we are experiencing, and of course, none of us is proud of it, and all of us want to see a reduction in the social ills of our society, because somehow it affects the development of the society on a whole. There are many positives that have been happening in St. Kitts and Nevis, especially since you were last on this show, and could you speak to some of them?
Well, generally at the macro level, the country is moving on. And the country is moving on in a way that makes it the envy of other countries around the world. Last year, for example, we delivered an economic growth at a rate of about 6.6%. You could hardly find 5 countries around the world that would have performed at that magnitude. This year we are anticipating that we will have a growth rate close to 5%. And when we look at the ECLAC reports, the IMF report, the World Bank outlook, you would recognize that we are in a position that puts us way better than many other countries around the world. So at the macroeconomic level, St. Kitts and Nevis as a federation is doing excellently, and you could hardly find any other country within the region. In fact, our 6.7% growth was the largest in the Caribbean, the second largest in Latin America and the Caribbean, upped only by the performance of Panama. And for 2016 again, we are in the top performers globally. The growth of and by itself is an indicator of what should happen. Once there is growth, we would want to see growth that is job-rich, which means that more jobs are being created in the country so that those who require work, those who need to be gainfully employed, can, in a reasonable time, find those employment. The picture is also good because when we look at the level of inflation, again the indicators from the central bank in its last report up to September 2015 would have indicated that we are experiencing a very low inflation rate, and that with respect to the food sector, which constitutes about 25% of the basket of goods, we had experienced about a 10% decline in the cost of living relative to food and beverages. That, of course, is a very helpful sign because it means that the purchasing power has improved for the vast majority of persons. When we look at the data from the Social Security, we recognize that in 2015, more persons have moved from the poverty line, from the becoming a minimum wage earner to doing better. They are in the middle income category, and that is again is a good indication of where we are at as the country, because in large measure you will recall that a commitment we made is that there will be prosperity for all. The prosperity in real terms must mean that people are in a better position to take care of their families, to pay their bills, to live comfortably and enjoy all those material things that are important to their wellness and well-being without losing sight of the spiritual element so critical for peace and happiness. And we could look beyond that to the job creation within the country. Over 25,000 jobs being maintained in an economy as small as ours. That is a good sign. The foreign direct investment in the country continues apace, and we are doing better than any other country in CARICOM, perhaps save for Trinidad in relation to the level of foreign direct investment on a per capita basis. We have managed to avoid increasing the tax burden on members of the society, and you contrast that with what is happening in Barbados, where they have been forced in part to introduce a cell phone tax. You contrast that to what is happening in oil-rich Trinidad and Tobago, where recently the government moved to make some adjustments, significant adjustment to its property taxes and also to its VAT taxes in such a way that some of the goods that were once zero rated are exempted. It has now found it necessary to impose, I think it is a 12% tax on these items. So these are some of the comparisons that we can easily do to gauge where the country is. For our part, we are satisfied. We are satisfied that we came in and we have been able within a short window of time to ensure growth in the economy. We have been able within a short window to implement our policies. Many of these policies went to the heart of the poverty within the society and to help ordinary people in East Bastia, in Central Bastia, around the country by and large, to make a better way for themselves and for their families. We remove the VAT and food and medicine and funeral expenses, making it more manageable for people to live within the country. We were able to provide the sugar workers $16 million worth of support to bring an end to the long outstanding injustice against them in their shortfall in the severance payments, 2,311 persons are slated to benefit from that particular initiative. And you compare that to the fact that in 2005-2006, a mere 968 beneficiaries were realized. So we are doing significantly better as a result of the policy postures of this government. And let us not forget that we have sought to recalibrate, and we have done so successfully for the time being, the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis, the federal entity and the Nevis Island government. There's of course a lot more love, a lot more discussion, a lot more consultation between the two governments, federal and Nevis Island, and that has redounded to the benefit of every citizen. We do not see ourselves as competing with Nevis. We are two islands, one federation. If Nevis were to do well, the federation does well. And so we do more collaboration and cooperation, and we see each island within the federation as complementing and supplementing the efforts of the other partner in the federal structure. In that regard, we were happy that we were able to provide $25 million in budgetary support to the people of Nevis through their government. And the position of the federal government is that whichever entity assumes control of the government in Nevis, we shall work with. That is our position. The government is a mechanism to which certain resources reach targeted needs on the island of Nevis. And we therefore, by providing the support to the NIA, we were directly providing it to the people of Nevis. And we are happy that we have been able to achieve those.
Okay, Prime Minister, this is a question that I have never asked you. You are now Prime Minister. How do you feel as Prime Minister? What are some of the challenges of your office? And how do you deal with such challenges? It's not easy being the Prime Minister of a country, I'm sure. You're a very busy man. Could you speak a little bit to that for us?
Well, first I should say thanks. Thanks to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for giving me the opportunity to serve at the highest level of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. I must say that I am honored and humbled by the opportunity to serve. And I would wish that the legacy will be that at the end of this tenure of service, that the citizens and residents would feel satisfied that having granted me a unique opportunity for the highest level of service, that I perform creditably and satisfactorily. In that regard, I would hope that one would be able to transform the lives of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis for the better, and to ensure that the foundations are sufficiently strong, so long after one would have departed from the trust of the body politic, those legacies continue to endure. And what are some of the things we hope for? That the country would be less partisan and politically so. We would hope that through the success of the Team Unity program that has brought persons across political divide to work together, putting country above self, that of course will be inculcated as part of the new value system of every Kittitian and every Nevisian. We will hope that as a result of this initiative, that people continue to value the consultative approach that we have embarked upon, and which I, as the Prime Minister, has to ensure form part of the fulcrum of the way in which the government operates. So there is no one-manism there is a team of people in leadership, and of course, somebody has to lead the team, and for the time being, I am providing that leadership to the team. I want in this regard, though, to commend the members of the team, because many had predicted, one, that team unity could not happen, and we did, that we could not win the government, and yet we won it, and that having won the government, we would not last longer than 6 weeks. And we have gone long beyond that, and we are intending to go that way in significantly more than 6 terms, if we continue to do well. So I want to thank the members of the team and to say that the role really is a challenging one and always will be, because of the makeup of the society and because you're dealing with expectations of people, and those expectations change so rapidly. And the recipe for success is not as simple as if you're running a business and it is the profit motive. There are so many issues impacting upon the society, impacting upon the development agenda, and the government has to, and the leader in particular, be knowledgeable and nimble enough to be able to respond to them in such a way that it advances the future possibilities for the country. Going back to the team, the Honorable Vance Emmy has been a bulwark of support to the Team Unity administration. And without his guidance, support, and counsel, it is difficult to envisage that we have reached so far. He has been an elder statesman within the government. He has been extremely supportive to me personally in this new capacity. And so I want to hail him and to thank him and his wife for the support that they have showered at me during this period of the 11 months or so that we have been in office. I equally want to thank the Honorable Sean Richards as the Deputy Prime Minister and leader of the PAM Party for his support. And honestly, between those two leaders, they have given me the requisite space in which to function and to provide the leadership to the team. And so I thank them from the bottom of my heart. The colleagues, generally, we have a cabinet that is an interesting composition of people with different skill sets, different experiences, and we have been able to leverage all the attributes and talents of the team to work for the country. And that is why we have been able to accomplish so much. So I want to thank the Honorable Lindsey Grant. I want to thank the Honorable Ian Patrice Liebert. I want to thank the Honorable Eugene Hamilton. I want, of course, to thank the Honorable Mark Brantley. And I want to thank our Senator, Wendy Phipps, and all those who are in the high command of leadership in the government for their sterling support so far. And to say we will continue to do well so far as we work as a team, and we work understanding that in our manifesto for 2015-2020, we put out the framework that would advance the country forward. I am satisfied that we have been working diligently on that contract and that we are fulfilling it. There are some who would want us to do everything in one day. If you were to judge from some of their comments, that is an unrealistic view that has no credibility or credence. Indeed, it is a 5-year contract, and it will be for our judgment as a cabinet, keeping in tight sync with our constituents and with the community to determine how over that 5-year period the program would be unfolded. So far, as the Calypsonian have said, Team Unity is doing well. I work extremely hard And I try to bring to bear all my knowledge, having participated in an administration before now, having participated in leadership at the ministerial level across a broad cross-section of ministries and portfolio assignments, to leverage that to help advance the country and to assist the ministers, many of them or several of them who are new to operating within the government and in an event operating in government at that level. And certainly, I think when fairly adjudged, our performance to date and my performance as the leader of the team has had the commendation of people far and near. And in particular, as a leader, I must say that I was heartened by the results of the Don Anderson poll, which reflected that notwithstanding the ray and so on that you hear in the political marketplace, convenient as those sounds may be, 68% of the population, when asked how Team Unity was doing, they express satisfaction with our work. And this is not a call for us to be complacent, but rather is a call for us to recognize that at the end of the day, we are accountable to the people, and that the people are looking on and taking notes. Indeed, what was interesting from the poll was that 84% of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis were aware of most of the policies of Team Unity, and that is a significant number. So it's not that persons were unaware, but more importantly, having been made aware of those policy initiatives, they fell in love with the things that we are doing. So I will continue to work as part of the team, to do my very best, to remain humble within the job, and to keep praying, and to ask the national community to keep me in prayers, because such a time like this one and the opportunity that has been provided me has come, I believe, due to divine intervention.
Now, Prime Minister, you are the chief servant of the people, the servant of servants, if I want to put it that way.
You have put it excellently.
And you have to listen to the people. As chief servant, it is extremely important that you be a good listener to what the people have to say. And now is the opportunity for us to put on our headphones and really for you to listen to what the people have to say. And so we are going to go to the phone lines. And the numbers to call, if you're calling locally, is 465-2555. That's 465-2555. And the overseas number is 1718-577-2916. 1718-577-2916. Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to Mr. Lesroy Williams.
Good afternoon, sir.
And good afternoon to the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, our Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Welcome. I'm glad I get into you. Now, my concern, I know that you and your government are trying hard, the unity government are trying very hard to do what you all got to do. We all elect you on the 16th of February 2015, and you all is doing some good things, to be truthful. But no one perfect. But my concern is this, with the police force, and there's a lot of crime and robbing going on in this country right now, in the Federation. It's happening in Nevis and it's happening in St. Kitts. And to be truthful, it breaks my heart when I hear these things happening and nobody getting catch. Now, I think that at the farmer government, all these things was taking place. He bring a new police commissioner, Mr. Baldwin. He was abroad and he bring him back. He was a citizen of this country. And he provided him with all kind of equipment and all kind of this and all kind of different things. Where no other police commissioner get in this country. But the crime was still going on. We criticize strong about it. And now unity government get in. It still continue to happen. But my little problem is this, that I think that after you all change the government, knowing what was going on in the police force, we changed the government, knowing what was going on in the police force, I think that you all will make some shuffling and we construct the police force. Because I believe that you got some corrupt cop in the police force, Mr. Prime Minister. Sometimes you walk in town, I do in town every night. And sometimes you walk on 4th Street, you see the police on 4th Street. You ain't see the police and all is still 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. You ain't see the police at all in town. When you do see a police, he driving around and maybe find the police truck or the army van. And that ain't good enough. I think that you're supposed to step up the security forces in this country and, come back some of these crimes. I do not believe you all could do much about these load of guns. The police could do much about the load of guns on the road. Because we was calling for border protection all the time. And now see what happened. We don't know how these guns get in this country. And it seems to me like each and every gangster now got a gun in their hand. So I do not believe that the police who conscious towards working for the country can do enough right now. I want to wish you all the best and continue to do a good work for this country. All right then.
Thank you very much for that input and continue to keep the faith. The crime situation, we accept, is at an alarmingly disappointing level for the country, and something has to be done, and things are being done to address that. And you are right that this is not a new situation, and therefore we did not expect, nor I believe do reasonable people expect, that you could deal with it overnight. For the last 10 years or so, St. Kitts and Nevis unfortunately had the distinction of being among the murder capital of the world. And it is therefore an indication that something deep was awry in the country, and we have to address those issues. Would a change in the police lead to better results? We would hope so. And we promise that sometime soon, in fact, in my New Year address, I signaled that we will have new leadership for the police force. And I signaled it then because we were substantially advanced as far as making those determinations. Those matters are going through due processes, and in time we will make the announcement as to the change of leadership. And we hope that that would lead, of course, to better outcomes. Because we consider this matter unacceptable, we also brought in a group of experienced people, the Bramshill Police Advisors, to provide support to the leadership of the police, and they will be available to provide support not just to the current leadership, but to the new leadership that will take over the police force shortly. Because we are committed to ensure that the situation turns for the better, we have been involved in consultation with the FBI. They have sent consultants here. They have had discussions. We have had discussions with the British, and we have had some support from them in some initiative, such as, for example, setting up the Criminal Justice Board, where we attempt to bring all the critical agencies involved in crime prevention, detection, etc. together so that they could be sharing and a clearly articulated, holistic response to the challenges which we face. Our borders are porous, And we have to ensure that the limited resources we have in terms of Coast Guard's assets, that those are being used in effective ways. At the moment, we have 2 of the Coast Guard vessels that are operational and doing the patrols on a regular basis. In fact, since around the last quarter, they have been engaged in a consistent way in that regard. And the expectation is that a 3rd vessel would be available. We are also having discussions with relevant persons regionally to see what additional support can be provided. And so we have not ruled out any option that may become necessary to ensure that our people are comfortable at work, at home, at play, wherever they are in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we have spared no resource in terms of ensuring that the law enforcement agencies get what they require. We had a checklist of things today. The Permanent Secretary of National Security had been given clear direction to prioritize and to respond. The Ministry of National Security, the Ministry of Finance, has been already seized that we will prioritize the need for the security and safety of the country. And we are expecting that in the days to come and the weeks to come, we are going to have some clearer evidence of the effectiveness of the security forces. I want to take the opportunity to commend the police force, the defense force, and all law enforcement agencies generally, but more specifically to commend the excellent ones. Like you, there will be some bad apples among the group, and it is the responsibility of the leadership to ensure that there are mechanisms in place so that we can weed out those law enforcement officers who are doing a disservice to the force, to the system, and to the country. And we spoke about those things today as we have spoken about them in the past. And that is why we have to give the system time, basically, to work through the attitudinal and the cultural mindsets that had kept the force operating in a certain way. Those things are going to take time, but the urgency, every time we meet, today the Attorney General sat in the meeting and was able to give specific guidance within the 4 corners of the law, how the police would, and the defense force in collaboration with them, would be able to respond, while at the same time not infringing on the constitutional rights of people. And we are not adverse to bringing change to the Constitution to ensure that it more relevantly allows us to deal with the challenge we now face. So I was want to say that I appreciate the concern expressed by the caller. I believe that we have to see better performance. I believe that there is a sufficient level and a sufficient quantity of support within the police and the defense force to take us to this better level of peace and security in the country. And so I remain optimistic. And the truth is, if the officers there fail, we will consider other options. We would not wish for there to be failure, because failure comes at a price too terrible for the country. We have within the force some of the best trained police officers anywhere in the world. They have gone to Bramshill, they have gone to the FBI Academy, and so on and so on. We must see the result of that training and exposure being reflected in the work. And so I ask the country to give the law enforcement officers the opportunity to serve to the best of their ability. Make the appeal to every citizen and resident. If you see the crime, report it. Report it to somebody. Because the police and the defense force, they cannot be everywhere. And they will not be everywhere. They will rely on intelligence and information to help them in being able to keep our country safe and secure. And so, again, if you witness the crime, please report the crime, because we do not know when the criminal will turn their gun on some other person in the community. It may well be your own life you save by reporting these incidents.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Leslie Williams and the Prime Minister. I want to thank you very much for those words that you have just said. But in going along with you, I agree with you to have a week of prayer. I would also like you to include fasting, because when the people pray and fast, you hear from God. And right now, our country has crime and violence, as the first caller mentioned. And when we have crime and violence, it does not please God. And it will stop rainfall. Because if we read in Jeremiah, that's what was happening to Israel. Because of the crime and violence, there was no rainfall. So the people's hearts have got to change. That's number one. Number two, the houses that were built by the former government in Hertfordshire. I was supposed to get one of the houses, and I was called already, but somehow there seems to be a delay in distributing them. I would like to know when your government is going to distribute them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller, for your input, and thank you for reminding us of the value of prayer, particularly at these challenging times. But prayer, of course, must be a constant in our lives and in what we do. To follow up, I did make the appeal in my New Year's message for the church to, as it were, provide the leadership with respect to a week of prayer for the country, because I share your views and your thoughts about the added value, the benefit, the necessity, and the imperative of prayer and a connection with a higher being. That week is being planned by the Christian Council and Evangelical Association. I know this week, perhaps it was yesterday, that the Premier and Minister of Ecclesiastical Affairs in the federal government met with the church leadership. And so plans are well advanced. And although we did say a week of prayer, there is no exclusion of the fasting. In fact, in some respect, prayer becomes more effective when fasting is taking place. But we will allow each and every individual to do their own bit, even as we have the institutional involvement of the Christian Council and the Evangelical Association in helping us in that regard. In the matter of the housing, I will hope to get this matter addressed in a quick way. I am certain that the Minister of Housing is listening. In any event, he's charged with the responsibility of bringing a policy paper to the Cabinet so that we could make a determination, not just on this particular case, which you reference, and for which I will need to get more information from him, but generally the housing policy of Team Unity, and we will unfold that.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, when you opened the lines, I noticed that you made a comment to the Prime Minister, and I want to tell him good afternoon and Happy New Year.
Good afternoon and Happy New Year.
You said that there was a value to listening. Every good leader spends 70% of his time as a good manager and leader listening. And I want to commend him because he started on a right foot as a listener, and I hope he continues to listen because what the people have to say is important. I want to continue in the same vein of the crime, because when the Prime Minister was talking in his opening statement, he said the police alone cannot do the crime solving. In my research on our local website, I discovered that our police force is just 450. Our defense force is less than 100. And combined together, they are less than 600. We have 50,000 persons. Although I commend the police force for doing what they're doing, they are not enough. Crime here is affiliated and associated with drugs and gangs. And when the Prime Minister was talking, he spoke about the association with social causes. I believe that there's a social intervention that is needed. The police alone cannot do it. And I want to appeal that social intervention must complement what the police are doing in order to make that dent in crime. Late last year, I think it's USAID provided $156 million for crime and safety and security in the CARICOM region. St. Kitts was numbered among those countries. My question is, do we have to draw down through projects from that $156 million in order to get our share of that money? Or is there an allocation for St. Kitts and Nevis to use those resources to assist in crime and violence? How can we use those resources to assist the police and social intervention in assuaging crime and violence in St. Kitts and Nevis? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller, for that important contribution. The police alone cannot do it. I think we accept that as a society. You made reference to the statistics in terms of the complement of the force, both at the police force and at the defense force, and you speak to the inadequacy of the numbers. That is contestable terrain, because we have long heard that on a per capita basis, St. Kitts and Nevis has one of the highest ratios in terms of the police. But we have moved beyond that, and we are prepared to provide the additional manpower to the police. And so even as we speak, we have a batch of probably about 30 persons who are in training to become fully fledged member of the police. So, and we expect, and even today in our meeting with the High Command, we said that training has to be consistent all year around. But we have a batch of about 30 officers in training to take charge or to become more proficient in the duties of a police officer. And equally, I'm happy to report that we also have another batch, perhaps 20 plus, in training at the Defense Force, so that we have agreed to provide additional human resource to both the police and to the Army or Defense Force. And that will in part deal with some of the personal resource shortage to which you, the caller, made reference. But beyond that, we are also investing in technology, and we are bringing new and different technology to play. We are looking, and I don't want to get into some of the specifics now, too early before they are unfolded, but we have a number of different technologies which we are going to be implementing shortly. Some of the officers are being trained to competently utilize these things, and once they are ready, they are going to be become public knowledge. The CCTV project that we are hoping to expand and to target the hotspots in a matter of priority during the first half of the year. In all of the hotspots, the wish will be that cameras would be available. They will be monitored 24 hours a day, and the intelligence would be preferred. So we will do all that we can to ensure that officers are being trained, that we bring the expertise wherever it is within the region or beyond, to help to ensure that the police and the defense force and any other agency of law and order, that these agencies are all appropriately resourced. That is a commitment which the government makes, and the leadership of the force would say that every time we ask what can we do, what additional resource can be done. Sometimes it is not just the issue of money, as for example required for vehicle. Sometimes it is that at the level of the government and at the ministry, we have to ensure that there is greater cooperation, both across the agencies engaged in law enforcement, so that the intelligence can be harnessed, so that more effective work can be done, so that duplication can be avoided, where each agency is operating, as it were, in its own domain, in its own turf, without regard to the overall picture. And so we have instituted now mechanisms for there to be regular discussion, regular efforts at strategy formulation and determination as to the implementation, involving the customs, involving the police, involving the army, and all the other critical agencies for law and order. So we are building a team, and that of course will take some time, but we are heartened by the progress that we have made and the progress that will come shortly. And as I said, we have invested heavily in bringing in some expert persons who have been around, who understand the challenges of policing and have international and regional experience to help us to mentor those who are there, to provide additional support to what we are doing in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Greetings, blessed afternoon to my beloved brothers, and a special afternoon to my beloved brother, the Prime Minister. How are you, my brother?
I am good today. Thank you very much for calling.
Okay, brother, man, we gotta put an end to this madness, this craziness. Too many of our young brothers are dying. My beloved Prime Minister, I know I'm not blaming you or the administration. You are doing a great job, but we must get a handle and put an end to this madness, this homicide, where it's just ridiculous. One homicide is too many, my beloved brother, too many. And we got to step up, both civilians got to work with the police, and the police must not see civilians as adversary and vice versa. We must work together. My beloved brother, I'm here in New York, living in New York, but my heart is always in St. Kitts and Nevis. We must do that, my beloved brother, because while our young men are dying, I know some sisters too, but very little. That's our future going down the drain. We cannot afford to do that, my beloved brother. I know you and your administration is doing your utmost best, but civilians must
But I know I got people in St. Kitts and Nevis now who are committing these crimes. And they must talk. It's not no snitching. It's to keep our country and let our country live in peace and love and harmony. We can't be some war-torn country that every week is some shooting, robberies, and homicides. My beloved brother, I know and I'm depending on you and your administration to do the uttermost best to bring this madness to an end. Now, my beloved brother, as you know, brother, I spoke to you before. I know your voice, this unique voice, my beloved brother. I would like to see you. I know you got to help the entire federation, but you know the People's Republic of Deep Bear, that's my phrase. That's why I choose to call it. Anybody could call it Deep Bear whatsoever, but I call it the People's Republic of Deep Bear, the forgotten town, my brother. And I would like to see some housing go up over there, my beloved brother. That population need to be revitalized, my beloved. You got to help the fishermen over there, brother. Help the young brothers with agriculture and other employment, my beloved brother. I'm not saying to neglect the other parts of St. Kitts and Nevis, but my brother, you know that town been neglected for years and years and years. And the time has come, my beloved brother, to do something like Kansas Pasture, one of the best pasture in this federation. Look at it, my beloved brother, been abandoned, neglected for years and years, my beloved brother. And you know, I talk to Brother Patrice, my beloved brother. I mean, tell me something going to be done. I don't know how soon, my beloved brother. But I am counting on you, brother, to help the people of Deep Bear, my beloved brother. Okay, sooner than later. Keep up the great works. Have a blessed day, the entire federation, especially you and your administration, my beloved brother. One love.
Thank you very much. One love. And it's just to acknowledge that you're on point with the several commentaries that you made. For example, that one homicide is one too many. And that is the approach that we in the government take. That is the approach that we urge the law enforcement agencies to take. But most importantly, every individual in St. Kitts must come to believe that. Because once you believe that, then you take the necessary action. Once you believe that, then the advice you gave that when you see a crime that you have a duty to report it, those things become so much easier to do. Once you believe that one homicide is one too many, then it's easier for civilian to cooperate with police and police to cooperate with civilian, because we need each other to resolve the problem that has for long plagued St. Kitts and Nevis. I could give the commitment that certainly it will be a fresh start for the neglected communities. And you mentioned Deep Bay. Deep Bay is somewhat in the heart of St. Christopher 6. Like you, I share the view that Deep Bay wasn't well taken care of, that there is too much evidence of the neglect, and the fishermen in particular, they got a raw deal. And so the Team Unity administration will offer a better way and a fresh start. The housing program, I acknowledge, we will want to unfold that within the next month or so, and I will ensure that the Ministry of Housing move with deliberate speed and thoughtfulness to ensure that we are in a position to meet that particular time frame. So 2016 then would be a year of action in terms of the start of the Team Unity's housing program, which shall be comprehensive. It shall not be just about NHC building homes. It will also be about how can the government incentivize individuals to build their own homes. How can we, for example, by making land available at giveaway prices, ensure that those individuals who can are able to acquire land and then move on to the next stage in terms of advancing the property development. It will be about how we make life easier for many who are in arrears in terms of programs that will have waivers and forgiveness built into these agreements, in terms of programs that would lead to a reduction in interest rate where possible and practical. So it will be a wide-based program that ensure quality housing are available at affordable space, but also provide incentives for private people to become involved in the acquisition of their own home, rather than the solution only being state-driven.
Working for you, good afternoon. Hello?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I thought somebody else was coming on. Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. This is Gene Howell. And I was wondering if after 11 months in office, what would you consider your greatest achievement or your most rewarding achievement over that period? I will listen off air.
Well, I don't know if I will choose a single element. To me, it's what we have been able to do over the short expanse, if you will, of an 11-month window. And what I am most pleased about is that we have been able not only to transition from a government that had been in place for 20 years thereabout, and to take charge of the government, but most importantly, we have been in a delivery mode. And the areas we have been delivering on are promises from our manifesto. I see the manifesto as reflecting the formal contract between Team Unity and the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And every element of that manifesto, every promise on which we are able to deliver, brings gladness to my heart, because it means we are keeping our word and we are looking out for the people, because this was a document to which we had advanced, will be the basis of the delivery and will be the basis of the good life. So when I look into the manifesto and I see that the manifesto says that we are going to bring tangible support to the small businessman, the young man who wants to get involved in landscaping, the young professional who has come back and now wants some help to start her business enterprises. And then I see that we have been able, through a Fresh Start program, to provide support to over 200 applicants. I feel a sense that it has been worth it for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. When I understand that in 2016 we have put enough resources in place to ensure that an oncology unit will now be available for the first time in St. Kitts and Nevis. And so all those people who are impacted upon and personally affected and under pain as a result of cancer, they can get their care and treatment home. I feel that it has been worth it for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. I take great pride in acknowledging that we promised a fresh start to the Bastia High School problem that had plagued the former administration for 3 years. I feel that we have done well when we were able, within a short window of time, to bring an end to the shift system, regularizing, again, the participation of our children in school and their parents and guardians who had to attend to them. I see that as a success for the people. And when we move beyond bringing an end to the bothersome shift system to provide permanent, temporary, permanent accommodation for the students from Form 1 to 4, I feel that Team Unity is delivering in a strong way. And when in the 2016 budget, we added another 10 million to provide for the initial start of the construction of a new school for all the feeder schools into the Bastia High School. I know the Team Unity is doing well. When we are able to get $16 million and to provide support to 2,311 individuals formerly associated with the sugar industry, and I compare that important statistic to the fact that 968 benefit under the rejected regime, I know that Team Unity is fulfilling its commitment. When we move to bring the honor that Sir Kennedy deserved by naming him a national hero and ensuring that once again we are honoring people for their work and their contribution regardless of their political affiliation, I know that Team Unity is on the path of transformation. So it is the sum total of all these things that we have been able to do, things that we promise, that bring me the kind of satisfaction that I have about the government. Because ultimately, it will be Team's Unity record. And to date, our record, if I may say so, has been excellent. Our record has won the admiration of those who voted for Team Unity and some who did not. That is why in the Don Anderson poll, and we must go back to that, because we will hear a lot of noise, sometimes discordant, in the political marketplace. But we go beyond the noise, as we did during the last election. The people were not fooled by PEP. They were not fooled by what was happening down at Port Sante. They were not fooled by the party, so to speak, kept in Warner Park for civil servants. In their hearts and in their minds, they knew that the country deserved better, and they gave us the opportunity to bring betterment. And I am satisfied that we have been able to do that. But most gratifying, we have been able to do that as a team. It has been a team effort. And I am satisfied that if we continue working together, keeping faith with the people, that the people will get the best 5 years they have ever had under any government. So I am satisfied, again, that we are fulfilling the mandate of the people.
Working for you, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. William.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to my Prime Minister.
Good afternoon.
So I want to read Scripture, Psalms 27 first, before I can set up my other messages to you. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Who shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy and my foe, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though an host shall encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war shall rise against me, in the will of my comfort. So I want to tell you, you have a heart, and a big one too. Because when you were underneath the former administration, you did exactly what you went there to do. You were the Minister of Finance. You brought back this country to what it was in the 60s, and then it was taken back from you, and then you gone down drain. They shift you all around, and it is time enough that you become the Prime Minister of this federation, and you are doing exactly what you think is best for the people in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I'm not going to hide my name or nothing. My name is Frederick Dyer. I work at Port Zante for the Urban Development Corporation. And it's a question I'm going to ask you, sir. Is the Urban Development Corporation under the government? Because under about 7 years under the former administration, we are being fooled that we are not under the government. And I would like to know exactly if the urban development is underneath the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, because you have the Pinnacle Mall, which is under the government. And I think someone will have to look into it and find out exactly, because the workers down there is not getting what's due to them. And I would like you to come down there when I walk in, and I can explain more to you and outline certain things, what I am seeing going on down there, which I don't like. Because right now we are in the season of the tourism, and I do not want, when tourism come, they have to turn back after we hearing about this lot of homicide. Because one too much is more than many. And I think we as citizens in this country, we have to speak out. We have to let the police them know where these ammunition coming from, because we don't have a country that make ammunitions. We have to speak to the army men them, let them know, let them go and do what they have to do, and let it be. Because right now, people are scared to walk. People are scared to walk, so I'm telling you, I walk down there 3 shifts, and many of the time I afraid to come home. So I want to work a double, but I have a wife to come home to relax with, so that is why I have to do it. But I'm asking you, as you is the minister in charge of national security, is to please to look into it for me and let us know exactly where does we stand, because everybody is being fooling us, and I cannot take no more fooling from no more body at this present time. May the Lord be with you, and also Mr. William.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. You have made some interesting comments, and we certainly should meet and have a discussion on some of the matters that you have raised. The Urban Development Corporation has a board, and it has an existence, as it were, independent of, say, the government to one extent, in that it is a corporation. The board is ultimately responsible for it, but the board, though, reports ultimately to a minister, in this case, the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd. So it's somewhat of a mixed bag. It is not intended to operate in the same way the civil service does. It has a separate existence, an entity. So it means that not everything that is done in the government pertains to that particular corporation or any other state corporation, for example, SCELEC, or any other body for which the corporation soul lies with the government. The government acts as the shareholder and intervene in special circumstances, ensure that the policies are in sync with its own expectation, etc., and then leave the management to the board to deal with these day-to-day operational and other issues. The government, though, has a watching brief, as every shareholder has, and to the extent that these entities have only one shareholder, in a manner of speaking, the corporation sole resides with the government ultimately can make necessary interventions to ensure that public policy that it wants to have abided, that those are being heeded by the directorate. So that is the situation with respect to UDC. I would want to suggest to you that you should have a word with the Honorable Ian Patches Liburd, and if there are particular issues for which you are unable to get resolution, there's nothing wrong in having a face-to-face with him. And of course, I will try my best to accommodate you with a meeting. But we would want within these corporations, people work hard, people give respect to those who are in authority. That is critically important. And they also must show respect for those who are in a reporting position to them, so that there is peace, there is harmony, and we really want to have the best performance from everybody wherever they are, whether they are in a state corporation or they're working at the front desk or some other section of the government. Everywhere the new ethos, the new thinking must be performance. performance. Do the very best that you can, because the country requires a higher level of performance and productivity if we are to sustain the growth and positive developments.
Well, Prime Minister, we are almost out of time, but before we leave, I want you to speak a little bit to the program of activities to mark the first year anniversary of the Government of National Unity that is fast approaching, and any other comment that you will want to leave us with. It is in your hands.
Well, thank you for reminding me that a year is about to come, and it is remarkable how quickly time flies, but importantly, good things have been happening. Indeed, reflecting on that, I think last year at this time we would have been in an election mode. Last year, perhaps, and this day was the day in which we were told clearly when the elections would be, that the elections would be held on February 16. And so, in acknowledging that, I want to again thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. They had a choice between continuing the same old order, and they made a deliberate and conscious decision to free the country of that order and to ensure that the country could, as it were, exhale again, breathe new life, bring more opportunities for a larger group of persons, and indeed ensure a fair share for all. It will always be with a heart of gratitude that I remember not only the challenges of this time last year, but the fact that through prayer, supplication, through wise counsel, the Team Unity movement prevailed. And it is worthy that we should commemorate and celebrate that success, not on behalf of Team Unity, success on behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Success for democracy, because the period leading up to that election was some of the darkest days for the democratic system of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have planned a program of activities, and these activities will start on Saturday the 13th of February with an event organized by Team Unity Women. And this activity will take place, this event, at Audrey's. Audrey's had been critical to our activities while in opposition, and therefore it is with a heart of gratitude and with good memory that we go back there, not only to say thanks, but to rekindle the energy of our people and to show appreciation and acknowledge from whence we came. The Team Unity Women had been an outstanding group of women from all walks and from across the different political parties that had come together in prayer, in doing various activities in support of the victory that eventually came. I met with that group a few days ago, and I want to thank them for their sterling support for Team Unity during our period in opposition and even now in government. I want to thank Kim Menon, Eugene Conda, Elrita Brown. I want to thank Mrs. Keynes. I want to thank Wendy Grant. I want to thank Jennifer Howell and all Cindy Deming, Dr. Thelma Brown, and all the others too numerous to be mentioned on this occasion when we are winding down. But I say to them collectively as a group and as a team, the leadership of Team Unity appreciates very much your sterling support. On Sunday, the 14th of February, we have Unity Service at Mount Carmel Baptist Church. This service will start at 10 a.m. We are inviting people everywhere to come to be part of this historic moment. And throughout today, we hear people say, remember to pray in one way or the other. And it is important, having regard to what is happening and the need to have permanent peace and transformation in the country, that we recognize God answers prayers. And so we will go there to fellowship at Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel has been excellent in its welcome always to Team Unity. Monday the 15th, we are expecting to launch a new program on ZIZ. We have the Working for You program as part of the fulfillment, and we have to speak some time about this, of the mandate of accountability, where we have provided the opportunity every week for the high officials of the government to account to the people. And the Working for You program is not a one-man show. It is not the Prime Minister's program. And that is something of the past, where every week one man paraded himself arrogantly before the people and pretended to be 10 men in one. We have said that we will give every minister of government and every senior official over time an opportunity to speak, but more importantly, to account to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. We will introduce a new program, Fresh Start, and this will be launched on Monday the 15th. The details to that will be made available closer to the date, and in any event, I should not expose what will happen then, since it's a new program, and we would want the promoters of that to be the ones to bring it to the public. Tuesday the 16th, we are intending to have the launch of a government portal. This is an advancement in our agenda for e-government, and we have had some local persons who have worked diligently with the Team Unity administration, again in the context of our willingness to share more information and to keep the public better informed about government policies. We are happy to be able to have the launch of this portal on the occasion of our first anniversary. And then on that very night, Tuesday the 16th, we expect to have a town hall meeting at the Anglican Church Hall in Constituency 2, Victoria Road, Seaton Street. So that's where we will be, town hall. On Wednesday the 17th, and we are expecting to have all the ministers of government there. Those who reside in Nevis and those who reside in St. Kitts will be there. The team then will be there to account. On Wednesday the 17th, one-on-one consultations in each constituency. We will have the leaders make themselves available to their constituency. One-on-one, therefore, is an important exercise in accountability. And we have the usual Working for You program on that day. And what we envisage is that we'll have the three leaders from the three parties. So you'll have myself, as a leader of the PLP, the Honorable Sean Richards as leader of PAM, and the Honorable Vance Amory, as it were, coming to indicate to the people how we collectively as a team, we have been working on behalf of the people. Thursday the 18th, we will have a town hall in Nevis, and it is also expected that all the ministers, those who reside in St. Kitts and those who reside in Nevis, will meet the people in a town hall. The entire team is expected to be there. Friday the 19th, we will have a homegrown concert at the circus in Barstow, and we will bring the best of available talent in St. Kitts and in Nevis to the circus to bring joy and excitement to all who will come to share in this grand concert. On Saturday the 20th, we will have a unity special breakfast at the terminal. And on Sunday, the 21st, this day will be open for the constituency leaders to bond in their own special way with their constituents. So whether it is the constituency will prefer to go to church, to have a luncheon, to have a fun day, to go on the beach, once it involves some element of bonding with the people, that is what we are expecting to happen on that particular day. Basically, in a nutshell, there will be other activities happening, and as we get closer to the advent of these things, more information would be available. For the moment, this is what is being planned. We are going to have a retreat at least with the strategic leadership of Team Unity on or before this week of activities, and that again will provide additional support and guidance as to the way forward. So that basically is the program of activities to mark our first anniversary. And again, in closing, to thank you for the opportunity to come, to extend apologies that the meeting with the High Command had detained me for longer than envisaged, but it shows the priority which I personally, as Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, accords to the safety and security of the state. And in light of the agony that has been occasioned as a result of these homicides, I felt that it was important for me to stay as long as was necessary to ensure that the High Command of the security forces understand that the country demands better and that we see soon a significant change in the direction in which the homicides are now trending. It has always been a pleasure to be able to listen to hear from, and to act upon the advice and the counsel of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Throughout my political life, I have always valued the getting together, the ability to talk freely with constituents, to hear from them, and as it were, to let the best of ideas contend. This particular forum certainly has provided me with another opportunity to do that with the country as a whole. And the callers all ask sensible questions. There is no foolish question when it comes to the work of the government. And I am happy that I had this opportunity to speak with these callers and the country by broader extension. And I'm hoping very shortly to come again with another opportunity to speak to the nation and to speak with the people who I am serving. It is a responsibility I take very dear and very serious. So thank you again, Mr.
Well,
Williams.
Prime Minister, we thank you for being our guest today. As you said, you were very busy, but you took the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in to Working for You. I am your host, Lesroy Williams. Please tune in next week for another edition of Working for You. And remember, there's a rebroadcast tomorrow on Freedom Radio at 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. and on Von Radio from 10:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. Good afternoon.
Just aside to correct, I think in thanking the team, I may have oversighted with respect to the Honorable Attorney General. Again, he has been a real mover and shaker in the Team Unity administration and has provided incredible support to me in the discharge of these onerous responsibility. He, of course, is the government's chief legal advisor. And so I just want to thank him. And I should also, by extension, thank the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Franklin Brand, for his service to date, and the Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Michael Perkins, who have assisted us in ensuring the work of the Parliament goes on, and those programs that required legislative action, that those can be pursued. So again, to all who have been part and all who will be a part as we move into the future, I say thanks in advance.
Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Lesroy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.